Hey everyone, this is Jarrad VK3BL. As a follow-up to my 5 things the IC7300 does better video that I released yesterday with some controversy, I wanted to do a video on 10 good reasons to go and buy an IC7610 right now. And I'm going to try not to waffle because I'm a bit of a 40-meter rag chewer, so let's see how we go. I've got some cue cards on my computer screen, don't mind me. Okay, the first one is that you've already got your shack up to scratch. There's no point having a lovely dual receiver radio if you don't have 2 antennas, for example. If you haven't made the most of your antenna system and you haven't made the most of your shack, you're not going to get the most out of the radio. So in my shack, and this is what I'd recommend as a bare minimum, is having an antenna tuner if you need one, or a antenna that doesn't need tuning. I still recommend having an antenna tuner, a good linear amplifier, most importantly a good set of meters for what you use, and a nice external speaker so that it's actually pleasant to listen to your radio. So they're sort of the bare minimum things that I'd recommend before purchasing an IC7610. If you've got those, go for it. It's probably time. Now, the second good reason to get an IC7610 is if you don't have a dual receiver radio or you've never had one, because it's a real benefit. It's fantastic for evaluating antenna performance in real time. It's great for working DX petitions. You can listen to the DX calling in one ear, and meanwhile on the second receiver you can scroll back and forward and figure out what frequency he's listening on, who he's talking to, that sort of thing. So it's a real benefit there. I really love it. I know there's other radios with dual receivers, but the IC7610 really blows me away. And that goes into point number 3, and that's that you have 2 high-speed pan adapters. You can instantly look, even if you're not listening, at your pan adapters and see which antenna is working better for picking up a certain station. At the moment, I believe it's an American. Let's have a listen. No, we've got Rod in Tasmania. He's a bit stronger on my vertical, on my dipole than my vertical. He's peaking at, there's a bit of he's about even at the moment. But before you can sort of instantly tell, and you can tell the band conditions too. So that's one feature I really love about it. The fact that you can sort of monitor it, you can see how things are changing with QSB and that sort of thing, and you can make a decision as to which antenna to use, or you can just use both. You can have one in each ear, and it's a real experience. So that's the reason this was the first dual receiver radio I got, because of those dual high-speed pan adapters and the fact I knew how good the pan adapter was in the 7300. So point number 4 is that you value simplicity. Now I have an Apache Labs 100D up here, and I love using that radio for rag chewing and stuff like that. I love the fact that it has pre-distortion. I love the fact I can fill my whole monitor up with the band scope and that. But the fact of the matter is, it's an experimenter's radio, and if there's a rare one popping on and you're on a band with a lot of QSB, it's not the radio to use for the job. It's not the tool for the job. It's great for rag chewing. It's great for trying out different things. It'll do antenna phasing, all kinds of interesting things. There's always updates coming out for it. But the fact of the matter is, if you value simplicity, and I work in IT, and when I come home I don't necessarily want to play with computers, the IC7610 is a beautiful performing SDR, and it's in a nice simple box. Okay, point number 5 is that you realise that there's more to radios than Sherwood numbers. Now, this radio scores 90 dB with 90 dB close-in dynamic range, 2 kHz, without IP plus on, and the IC7300 scores 81 dB. Now, that's actually quite a difference. It's not as much when you look at the IP plus numbers. With the IP plus turned on, it's this one's 98 and this one's 94. But the fact of the matter is, Rob Sherwood recommends not having IP plus on unless you need it. And that's because of the way it works. Basically, it sort of, reduces the minimum, your ability to pull in, well, your minimum discernible signal. Probably not a big deal on the lower HF bands, but, it's best practice not to have it turned on. So I do like the fact that this radio is 9 dB better, and, you know, um, you don't have to rely on IP+. Now that said, the point was, you realise there's more to radios than Sherwood numbers. And the fact of the matter is, if you go and read Rob Sherwood and even some of Tom Rauch, Whiskey Juliet India's documentation, basically they say that 80 dB is all you need for SSB phone, even in contest duty. So 90 dB is more than enough. And bear in mind, we're talking 90 dB close in. We're not talking 90 dB for SSB phone. We're talking 90 dB or even 98 dB if you need it for close-in CW work. So it's more than enough. It's one of those things, it's like automobile manufacturers trying to make the world's fastest car when you can't ever use it, or it's not safe to use it, or if you do use it, you're going to have a big fuel bill. The fact of the matter is, this radio is more than good enough. And, and that leads me into point number 6. Out of the box, this radio sounds fantastic. I had a friend come over, Michael VK3BL, and 40 metres was particularly good that day. He was listening and he said, that radio sounds amazing. And I thought, well, that's quite a subjective thing. I know a lot of people have said that the IC7610 sounds amazing, and I always thought it sounded amazing too. I mean, by comparison, my IC7200, which is a military-looking radio, I loved it, took it to Cambodia, but it did give me listening fatigue after a while. The 7300 was a great step up in that. I could listen to it for far longer, but the 7610 is a step up again. ICOM have really put the effort into making it a pleasurable radio to listen to. And let's face it, you spend most of your time listening than you do transmitting and that sort of thing. Most of us hams, we like to have a bit of a short wave listening as well. We might spend 60% of our time doing it. You don't always feel like talking. Now, just to test this theory out, because it was subjective, I went and turned on the Apache Labs. And to my shock and horror, it actually took me about 30 minutes of playing around with the settings to get it to sound comparable to the 7610. And I haven't done anything to this radio. I've just pulled it out of the box. So ICOM have done a fantastic job and a fantastic thing for hams by paying attention to how the radio sounds. It's a much more worthy pursuit than scoring the highest Sherwood number and having a lousy sounding radio. That's one of the criticisms of the K3 radios, for instance. That and the ergonomics. Who wants a radio that's not easy to use and that sounds bad but scores well? So, that's what I mean by points 5 and 6. There's more to life than numbers, and this radio sounds fantastic. Not only that, it sounds great on air. So, just like the 7300, ICOM put a lot of effort into making sure it sounds great on air. Point number 7, and this one doesn't get enough coverage, is the built-in high-Q dual pre-selectors. There's one for each receiver. They're completely independent, and they are quite high-Q. If you scroll across the band, and I don't think you can see it at the moment because of my lighting and the fact I've zoomed out, you can actually see on the scope the attenuation as you scroll across just 200 hertz of 40 meters. So, if you're in a CW contest and there's someone up on, 7185 or something who's 40 over and splattering, that's going to come in handy. And likewise, it's going to come in handy if you live near a broadcast station. It was one of the things that worried people about the 7300 was that it got overloaded easily. Now, the fact of the matter, most of those cases were because people either had the preamp on when they didn't need it. You don't need a preamp on 80, 160 or 40, full stop. Didn't know how to use the attenuator, or didn't know how to use the RF gain. It's there for a reason. But that said, the pre-selectors, I think, are more valuable than chasing the higher Sherwood numbers. So I think that's very much an underrated feature of this radio. It's something ICOM put a lot of effort into, And basically, it's like having the $2,500 worth of Yaesu new tuning units. You know, the little outboard new tuning units that they sell for 160, 80 and 40 and 20, all built into the radio. I mean, that's fantastic. That really is a good pre-selector, and I'm happy it's in there. Number 8 is built-in Ethernet control. Like I said, I don't always like using a computer when I get home working in IT. I just plug a cable into the back of this, and this is a little bit ironic. I can remote control it from anywhere using a computer. But the point is, I don't have to set up and maintain a computer to be able to do that just dedicated in the shack. I don't know if you use Windows 10 or not in your shacks yet, but the amount of updates and new features it wants to tell you about is just unbelievable. So I really appreciate the fact that with this radio, if I want to remote control it from my laptop, I don't have to worry about maintaining a shack computer of some description. So I think that's a real plus. Number 9 is the external display port. Now, I know some people would have liked to have seen a HDMI. HDMI plug. Now, you know what? You actually have to pay a license fee to use HDMI. So if ICOM saved money by using DVI, which is just as good, you can just get a cheap, converter on eBay or even a cable converter. Where's the issue? There's plenty of backspace on the back of the radio, so I don't see that as a problem. I was a little concerned about the resolution at first, the 800 by 480, but seeing everyone else's videos and seeing what it looked like on a big screen, I think it's fine. The fact of the matter is, what it's really there for is for people who aren't just short-sighted like me, but who have eyes that have trouble accommodating. And what that means is they have trouble changing focus as you go from near to far. I'm a little bit bad with these sort of things. From far to near and back and forth. So, it's a great feature to have for those people who maybe need bifocal glasses or even trifocal glasses, or progressive lenses. That's a real plus. Now, it's not personally a plus for me, but I'm happy it's in there for the people who need it. And lastly, I guess, I'll say, lastly, number 10 is, and this is a big one for me, the RC28 remote encoder. Now, a lot of people didn't like the fact that it didn't have a second knob for the sub VFO, or the second receiver. But you know what? You've got this thing, and this thing's better because not only can it control the sub VFO, but you can also use it to control the main VFO. And that means, yes, it's an additional extra, but it does work with that remote control software I was telling you about, so it has 2 uses, but it means it's good for ergonomics. Right now, if I was to reach over to the main dial, I'd block the camera. Whereas this, I can position anywhere I like, maybe lay back a little bit, out of frame, and I can tune the radio. So I think that's a real plus, because sometimes we can't have station equipment exactly where it might be most ergonomic. At the moment, this isn't the most ergonomic place for the main dial for me. So I like the fact, I think it's a real plus that I can pick this up and move it to wherever I want, and the fact that it'll change the whole focus. It'll change both my scope's focus and my receiver's focus with the press of a button. I also like the fact that it's got a push-to-talk button. Sometimes I don't like using the foot switch with my boom mic. Sometimes I like just tapping that push-to-talk button, and away I go. So there you go. There's 10 good reasons that you should buy an IC7610. And I'll throw in a bonus one, and that's that it's an SDR-based radio. So we're likely to see updates, and if we push for them as a ham community, we're likely to see maybe some new features introduced. It's more than possible. One thing I would like to see personally, and so would Scott, Whiskey X-Ray Zero Victor would like to see, is the option of using the timer button as a notch button. We missed the notch button that was on, in his case, the IC 756 Pro 3, and in my case, the IC 7300. You know, having to go into a menu when a lid's tuning up on the middle of the DX's frequency and blasting your ears in your headphones is a little annoying. So hopefully, if we make a bit of a song and dance about it, being an SDR radio, ICOM will be able to do an update. So there you go. There's 10 plus 1 reasons why you should buy the IC7610 now, and why I love it, why it's a great radio, and why it's not leaving my shack anytime soon. Now, if I've come across as a bit nitpicky, it's because it's a premium product. And when you spend a lot of coin on something, you know, you have high expectations, and rightly so. And I'm not one of those kinds of people that thinks that everything has to be 100%. I like to give 100% and try 100%. But, you know, if I make 80% of people happy with my work or my videos, that's a good thing. It's just like university. 85% is a high distinction, and no one would argue that's a bad result. So, you know, when you see people nitpick a few little things about the IC7610, don't be put off. It's only because it's a premium product, and, you know, we want to see some of the little bugs fixed. For instance, the random tone bug. Of course we're going to talk about that. We want to see it fixed in firmware. We want to help the engineers diagnose the problem. So, anyway, I hope that explains it all. I think it's a fantastic radio, and I hope no one took the 5 things the IC7300 does better video the wrong way. The point of that video was just to reassure hams that if they've got a 7300 and they haven't got the best antenna set up yet, or they haven't got a linear amplifier, they're not really going to miss out. You actually need all those things to get the most out of a big rig like the IC7610. So there you go. I think it's a winner. I couldn't even guess how long it'll be before Yaesu and Ken would catch up to this radio. So this product, it's fantastic, and you know, it might be quite some time before ICOM release the small car priced version in their range. So I think it's a real winner. They're certainly beating all the dealers' expectations for sales, so they're probably not going to drop in price, you know, very super quickly. They're selling like hotcakes. They're a good radio, and yeah, I'd give them a solid 85%, high distinction. Now, if it wasn't for the fact the 7300 came out and presented such good value, I would have given it 100%. But the fact of the matter is, the 7300 was, you know, it really redefined the ham radio market. So it has a special place in my heart, and rightly so. But you know, moving forward, it is going to be sold, and this is going to be the radio staying in the shack. This is Jarrad VK3BL. I hope I didn't waffle on too long with this one, and best wishes for 2018 for everyone. I hope you enjoyed my videos. If you don't, if you're tempted to click that thumbs down button, by all means click it. Any feedback's good feedback, but you know, I see my viewers as customers, and I'm really big on customer service. That's my passion. So if you want to click thumbs down, click it, but also comment. I'm not going to argue with you. If you feel like I've done something wrong, or you don't enjoy the video, let me know why, and I'll try and make it better next time. Like I said, I aim for 100%, but you know what? I only expect that I'm really doing about 80%. I mean, that's just the way the life is. I'm not going to be offended. Thank you everyone for watching. This has been so much fun meeting you all, and you know, just chatting with the ham community. It's been a great ride, and I'm going to keep it up. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. 73 from Jarrad, and I think I've already said that, but there you go. The 40-meter wafflers come out again. Good night, guys. I'm falling fast asleep. It's not too late here, but I had a big one. Catch you next time, and stay on frequency for the next release cycle, which will be the weekend coming up. VK3BL, Jarrad, going QRT and clear of this frequency.